Yeah, Fred, I think that you'll be happy to know your neighborhood won't be completely ripped out.
Sure.
You'll be happy to know your neighborhood won't be completely ripped up. So a lot of directional boring, right, and underground stuff, and on the terrace.
Yeah, as much as we can. So it'll still be a construction project. So
Volunteered his driveway for parking.
What's that?
Fred's volunteered his driveway.
At front lawn, I thought. Yeah.
Yeah, it's graffiti.
I appreciate it.
Anything else on that?
Good to go.
Let's move on. Number 5, consider a motion to approve amendment number 1 to the general services agreement with Strand not to exceed $50,000.
So we have several general service contracts with a couple of consultants doing different miscellaneous work for us. In this case, Strand does some distribution evaluation for us. They also do all the cell phone review, the structural analysis there. That gets reimbursed by the cell phone companies and such. So we have this general services contract that's open. We're getting low on the remaining amount. That up a little bit more. It's something that we do once every 2 years or so, depending on what uses we're going to have from them. We think it's going to be a little bit lighter in the next year or so. So $50,000.
Yep. I'll move to approve the amendment number 1 to the general services agreement with Strand not to exceed $50,000.
Dukenyak, second.
Roll call.
Dukenyak, aye.
L.I.
Guzekowski, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Number 6, consider a motion to approve a change order for number 1 to the 2022 sanitary rehab project to Globe Contractors for $6,335.
So this project, our sanitary rehab project, as we're doing the work, some of the asphalt around the work that we're at was deteriorated pretty significantly, and we were able to get the contractor to repair those areas, to put that in for the same contract price, which was a good price. So in this case, it added $6,300. It wasn't expected in the contract, but definitely a good value.
Mike, should this complete the project?
Does not, no, they've got a little bit work left. We'll do a payment next. The work that comes up left is the testing and sealing of the lateral connections.
Any
They haven't completed that yet. That's the only thing left to do.
other questions, Fred?
No. Seifert moves to approve the change order number 1 for the 2022 sanitary rehabilitation project to Globe Contractors in an amount of $6,335.
Dukenyak, second.
Roll call.
Dukenyak, aye.
L.I.
Guzekowski, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Alrighty. 7, consider a motion to approve the progress payment number 1 for the 2022 sanitary rehab project.
So this is the first project payment on this project. It is most of the project. There is a little bit left to do on it, but the total of this is $143,797.45. And as I mentioned, they've got the testing and sealing of the lateral connections yet. There are 2 other items on here that are blank. They are for excavation below subgrade and then adding crushed stone when they have areas of poor soils. They did not encounter that, so they will not be using those items. So really the next payment should be a final and will be a relatively small.
Mike, do we make sure in the spring that their payment repairs and stuff are?
We've got them on hook for a year.
Okay. So we don't release the complete retainage until
It gets released, but once the project's done and finalized out, we have to release that, but they're sort of on their honor system, to come back and do that. We've had really good luck with that. The threat ultimately is that they aren't going to get another job with us if they don't repair what they have.
they're global. I recognize that.
Yeah, they've been a good contractor.
Like being relatively new to the committee, I'm not familiar with the schedule of sanitary rehab projects. How long should this rehab project, keep the sanitary sewers in good working order? Is this something ongoing?
It is definitely ongoing,
Oh, it
something
is,
we
okay.
do, didn't used to, but now do on a yearly basis. We're going after just small defects in the sanitary sewers, different lines. We may do spot repairs. We may do full lining manhole to manhole. We may do excavation to replace portions of the sewer just to keep them up and running so we don't have any issues with them going forward. So
And the expense of that yearly project is typically about what it is this year?
yeah, it's between 500,000 and 750,000.
Good to know, thank you.
Mike, you want to explain to Rich the cammering, how that
Oh.
works with this?
So all of our sanitary sewers are cleaned and televised once every 5 years. So we go through, we're due a fifth of the city every year. The guys are out, and we'll see that in the distribution performance goals. They're out, do about 180,000 feet a year. And from that, they can identify defects. They're all certified in this, NASCO, I forget what the acronym is for it, but they're all certified in identifying leaks or identifying defects so that they're consistently reported. And we have that, then now we can prioritize what repairs to do.
And I do think I recall seeing the trucks, in our neighborhood. It was
Yeah.
a couple years ago, and I had asked them, what are you doing? So,
Sure.
okay, that makes sense, thank you.
Mike, are the cameras still working okay?
We just sent another one in for repair, but yeah,
Okay.
they are. They're just a constant maintenance item. They're in a terrible environment.
I was out there this summer when they were running those cameras, and they were having a little problem controlling it. Okay.
Motion on that one, guys?
Okay, we'll move to approve the progress payment number 1 for the 2022 sanitary rehab project to Globe Contractors in the amount of $143,797.45.
Seifert seconds.
Roll call.
Dukenyak, aye.
Gale, aye.
Kuzikowski, aye.
Seifert, aye.
All righty, consider a motion to approve the utility vouchers for payment in the amount $756,634.36. Any questions?
Nothing special.
Any comments otherwise?
Gale, move to approve utility vouchers for payment in the amount of $756,634.36.
Seifert seconds.
Roll call.
Dukenyak, aye.
Gale, aye.
Kuzikowski, aye.
Seifert, aye.
All righty, number 9, consider a motion to approve the 2023 operating budget for the Oak Creek Water and Sewer Utility.
So I do have a couple notes on the budget. I'll go through those, then I'll go through the cover letter that shows some of the assumptions for the budget, and then we can go into the actual budget numbers themselves. And I have a few insights on there for you as well. So the 2023 budget, as with all of the operations budgets for the utility, there's 2 separate enterprise funds, one for water and one for sewer, and they are kept separate. The rates are comprised of 2 parts. There's a fixed cost or a meter charge, we call it sometimes, and a variable cost, that's your flow cost. The rates are approved on the water side by the Public Service Commission. On the sewer side, they're approved by the Common Council. In addition, the PSC approves any construction project over $450,000. The utility budget is a little different from the city budget in that our revenues come from rates rather than from taxes. We don't use the same, we don't have the same pressures as necessarily the city, focused on just the lowest cost within levy restraints. We try to be as efficient as possible, but we also want to make sure we've got the highest water quality that we can. So we want the highest quality product out to our customer. And we strive to have one of the highest quality water facilities in the country, as you know. The operating budget for the utility is meant to be a guideline. It's to help us identify where cost trends are, revenue trends are, so we can determine whether or not we need a rate case or a rate increase or decrease, and when that might happen. There's no real legal requirement to approve the budget. There's no public hearing required, as it is on the city side. So we do review the budget compared to our actual costs. We like to do that on a quarterly basis, so we can kind of track and see how things are going. And I'll have some insights for you on that. And lastly, the capital budget will be presented next month. So when we look at all the projects that we look to do, that comes from money allocated in the operating budget, we can then that informs our capital program. So we'll look at those projects next month, and that's really where, in large part, that's where the large part of our cost goes to the capital side. So with that, some of the assumptions for this year, they're a little bit unique in that we've got, as you know, sort of an accounting hole, and so we've kind of patched in where we could, and based on these assumptions, what we'd like to do is have a very conservative budget. So we like to keep revenues at a really low increase, if any increase at all. Typically, we show zero increase from the previous year to keep that as conservative as possible, and in expenses, we try and increase at reasonable numbers. What we've done this year, we've projected revenues, since we don't have good numbers for 2022 yet. We really can't track well, and the estimated projection that you see in here is not to the level of detail that I'd like to see. So what I did is looked at the average over the last 6 years on revenues. Where are we tracking there? Traditionally, our budgets have been very low on allocating revenue, so we want to try and sort of true that up to what the experience has been the last 6 years. On the expense side, because of the detail, not having the detail that we'd like on 2022, we did use the actual expenses for 2021. Those are good numbers. What we've seen there is over the years, because in the past we've always applied sort of a standard factor to expenses, 3%, 2%, 4%, whatever it might be. And not to say ignored the actual expenses, but really haven't trued that up in a while. This is a chance to true that up again. What we see is our expenses are higher than what our budget was in most cases over the last couple of years. We want to try and get that corrected a bit. What we're doing here then is taking 3% over 2021's costs and applying that across the board for expenses going forward. The reason why I use 2021, again, it's more accurate information. The reason why I'm only using 3% is because what we're seeing for the projected 2022 is those expenses are going down. And what I'll tell you when we get into the details is expenses over the last 10 years, the decrease on that is really pretty low. So I think this is a very good number for us, as again, as a guide going forward. Sewer, much the same. It really was done very similarly. The one piece that's a little different on sewer is the MMSD piece. We did increase theirs based on an average of 6% over the last 5 or 6 years. That's a pass-through, so while that expense increases, the revenue increases as well, so it really has no effect on our operating budget. The rest of the expenses were done the same. So with that, we can get into the summary. The next 2 sheets, excuse me, one is a summary for water, and the next is a summary for sewer. On the water side, I mentioned, as we did an average of the last 6 years for revenue increases. And what I'll share with you is over the last 10 years, our revenue has increased 1.9% per year. So we've had a very healthy increase in revenue over the last 10 years. We're not really showing that here. We're showing actually overestimate what we're going to collect in the next year. On the expenses side, over the last 10 years, expenses have actually gone down by 1% per year. That's an amazing number all by itself. So that's something that we have seen some efficiencies in different work operations, and that's helped us. Clearly, that's not going to continue. There's some nervousness going forward with the inflation that we've seen. I think we have a good number. The one number that didn't follow the trend was this administrative materials number. Shown actual 2021 was $746,000. The proposed budget for 2023 is $1 million. That's close to the average of the last 6 or 7 years that we've used in that account. What that is largely outside services. So the strand number that we just approved at $50,000 would come out of that category. When we've done projects at go to the PSC, any of the lawyer work or engineer work to support the application gets charged to this account. So you'll see that over the years go up and down, and certainly within the last 5 or 6 years, that number's been quite high. So it does jump around a bit. I think based on averages, it's a good conservative number to have going forward. I don't know that we're going to have a lot of outside services coming up this year, but it's a good conservative number. So I changed that a little bit in order to with that, overall, what you'll see is the change at the bottom is showing a positive of $1.8 million, where that's combined with depreciation to fund our capital program. So that's directly what that's used for. It is lower than we've seen in the past. That's going to impact our capital budget going forward. We know that. You'll be able to see that next month, how that shakes out. And I think as we get into quarter one of next year, and we have better numbers for 2022, that'll help guide us as well.
Mike, will the capital budget be approved by then, though?
In November, it'll be approved. Yeah. So when we go into quarter one, we should have good numbers.
How does that help us plan for budgeting, though, if we're going to have a significant adjustment to that?
Well, I don't see any change in the operating budget, but it'll help us, it'll guide us forward as to what we're going to have to do going forward. Do we need a rate case in 2 years or 3 years, or what is the trend? So looking, to me, I'm really keyed in because of the inflation that we've seen here on expenses. We've got 2021 numbers, they look good, but I don't have a good handle in 22 yet. So we need to get that so we can see where that trend is. We think we're doing good. The numbers that we can project look very good, but we know that chemical costs have gone up significantly for us. And now the latest one we heard is meter horns are going to be scarce to find on new construction. So we still are finding some problems out there where we can't find pieces and parts and what have you.
My question, rate adjustments. Have we had any rate adjustments in the last number of years?
The last full rate case on water was 2012.
Oh, gosh.
We
Okay.
did do 2 simplified rate increases. You can do those within 5 years. Those are 3%ers. We did those in 2014 and 15. But no, we haven't had a rate increase in quite a long time. Quite honestly, we haven't had a rate increase in too long a time. Okay. Or a rate adjustment.
Well, and then I would say, is there any justification for presenting a rate case?
There is not at this time.
Okay.
It largely hinges on significant work at the treatment plant. When that happens and we have debt associated with that, that's when something's going to have to be looked at. On the sewer side, we have not had a rate increase since 2010. So long time there too. That's something, when I get into sewer, we're watching that really, really carefully. That's not something you want to then turn around and have to have a 15 or 20% rate increase because you haven't been paying attention to it. So,
Mike, I've got a question. How do you feel about the chemicals that the treatment plants need, their cost? 3% seems kind of on the shallow side. I'm looking at inflation right now, and
It has, but we're starting to see, this is why I really want to see 22 numbers. The cost from suppliers has gone up, but on chlorine as an example, we paid a little extra in the beginning of the year to guarantee that price for the year. They've come back and obviously charged us significantly more. We went back and said, hey, you got to honor your deal here, and they have. So we're paying, I would say, below market now for that. Other chemicals have gone up significantly, but the good news is the total impact on the budget is about $150,000 for chemicals, so it's not significant there. Energy is a big one that has not been all that bad right now. So we're watching it. We're definitely watching it. So I'll flip to sewer. Again, the methodology was largely the same. The one piece I'd like to mention there is the depreciation piece. So you'll notice on the bottom, first off, on the budget of 2022, that there's a negative $120,000. I'm not very concerned about that. That is one of the items that we definitely need to watch. Every year, sewer is right on the line, a little over, a little under. That's very common. The last several years, it's been about 60,000 or 180,000 up. This year it shows 122 down. The one piece that we use, and I mentioned we use that to fund our capital program. The other piece is the depreciation. That's $588,000. I think we're going to do just fine in there. The trends that we see on sewer is it's actually going, the expenses are, okay, so I'll get into that. The sewer expenses over the last 10 years, revenue has been up 4% a year. Expenses have been up 3.96%. So pretty much even. But if you take out MMSD and just look at our side, expenses have only been up 1.2%. Revenue is going up 4%, expenses are going up 1.2%, average over the last 10 years. They're again doing really well. So this number doesn't particularly concern me. I think when we start looking into next year and have better numbers, then we'll see where is that true trend. And if that true trend shows off that we're getting more towards a zero, more towards negative, we may have to do surveys. And I think that it's completely justified from the standpoint that we haven't had a rate increase since 2010. Again, you don't want to wait until you have a 10 or 15% increase. You'd rather do small incremental ones earlier. To this point, we haven't really needed it, so we haven't gone and done that. I don't think we'll need it now. We've got a pretty healthy reserve in sewer that we can use to fund capital projects for this year. It's not going to be a problem, but it is something we definitely want to watch. Expenses have grown slower than revenues have increased, so I mean, that's a good sign. And these numbers are very conservative.
Like, remind me how are MMSD's pass-through charges trending? Do they have the capability to raise their rates pretty proactively, or do they have to do the same process?
They do, every year they do, they raise their rates and we modify our bill accordingly. So what, effectively, you can think of it, MMSD sends us one big bill. We then have to develop a number that we collect from our customers in order to pay that bill. That ebbs and flows. Sometimes MMSD's number, we're collecting a little bit more than we need. Sometimes we're collecting a little less than we need. And we do true that up every maybe 2-3 years. We're in a spot now that we're starting to analyze. We think we're collecting a little bit more than what MMSD's charges are. So we are going to have to true that number up. When we do, that can have an effect on this number as well, on our side of this.
Does MMSD change their rates at will, or
No, once a year.
once a year?
Yeah, once a year. And I don't think the budget suggests they're going up 6%. I don't think they're going up 6%. I think they're going up 4%. But I just used an average to be conservative with the last.
Our rate just goes up because.
Correct. Yeah, just because there's one up. Yeah.
Motion?
Yes.
Seifert moves to approve the 2023 operating budget for the Oak Creek Water and Sewer Utility.
Dukniak, second.
Roll call.
Dukniak, aye.
Gale, aye.
Guzekowski, aye.
Seifert, aye.
All right. Informational.
So on the administrative reports, there isn't a whole lot exciting this time. On the admin side, we did meet with We Energies and did talk to them about their increase. This over last year at this time, they're 16% higher than they were in the past. They weren't at all concerned about that. That's fine. They don't have a leak. They've been using more water on the Oak Creek power plant than they have in the past. They're not at all surprised. They had high energy demand last year. They're not surprised. It doesn't shake them at all. So we did check in with them. It was nice to finally meet with someone. They asked who we notified, and we said, well, we notified this person on that date and that person on that date. Oh, yeah, okay. And we expressed our sort of concern. It's the same problem. That campus down there is not really managed by a single unit. You've got the Elmore Generating Station, the power plant, they've got their gypsum facility, their coal handling facility. Those are all effectively separate units for them, separate business units. There's no one over the whole campus. We sell to the campus. So it's a little difficult. The person that had been helping us works for ERGS. They use the least amount of water. So they weren't as concerned about it. We've now got a good contact with someone for the campus and have a great representative for us locally. So we can get them information, work on. They've had some meter pit issues where the meter's been flooded out and that sort of thing. Now we've got someone to help work on that. So it was a really good meeting. On engineering, Susan Water, I believe I reported last time that looked like it was getting going. I know there's survey flags out there, and it looks like they're getting going. They can't get valves. Looks like they're not going to be doing this till next year. So, common problem, unfortunately.
Make sure the flags get picked up then.
Yeah. Well, we traditionally don't. If the homeowner wants to get rid of them, they can. That's usually what happens. distribution, then one of the very first one there, the interesting part about that was on Rawson Avenue. The stainless steel clamp actually corroded, causing that leak. That's not something we've seen before. I've talked now over several other utilities that do see that problem. They think in that era it may have been a bad batch of steel. Not really sure. We have had some erosion problems in the past when we checked into some of our retired folks, but this was corrosion of the stainless steel very clearly. So Darren took the two halves of that stainless steel band clamp and brought it to the conference out in Madison and showed it to the suppliers and said, hey, what's going on with this? So they could try and get a little bit more momentum. That one kind of scared us. It's only been in the ground 10 years. That's something we got going forward that's pretty nerve-wracking.
Obviously know where those are, though.
We do, yes, sir. The other piece on that is we've got a leak on Howell and Putes. So in front of the bank on Howell, right at the intersection of Putes Road on the southeast corner, you'll see some barricade stone pile there. We do have a leak coming out of a 30-inch valve going into a 30-inch spigot. It's also a reducer right there. It's going to be a very difficult repair to do. Right now we're working on getting that water shut down to that area. It's a small leak. It does not appear to be increasing. All summer long. We're worried about it increasing for sure. The issue with that one that makes it more complex is because of the reducer, there's 54,000 pounds of thrust on that reducer. You start taking soil off the top of it, and it's going to move. We don't have a concrete buttress in there, at least there isn't any longer. It was put in 1983. The 30-inch was put in 1968. So we're looking at a bell leak repair clamp, but we need to get the water throttled on in order to do that. We're working on both sides of Howell Avenue. There's 24-inch main on the east side and on the west side. We're trying to get that shut down so it holds and we can reduce that pressure. Our guys are out there now daily exercising valves and trying to get a better operation with that. Yeah, we'll be doing that for a while. Also, that leak repair clamp apparatus is 8 weeks out. So with two possible suppliers, we said order whichever one comes quicker. We have ordered and have in the shop now a reducer and those parts in case we need to cut it out and put new pieces in. But because of the reducer, that's going to require a contractor that handles too big for us. So you'll see a bunch of activity over there. That's a huge main issue for us.
Like a little earlier this year, there was a main break on Putes right around the corner. Is that more of a coincidence, or is that?
It is. Yeah.
Okay, not an indication of a failure of that,
Correct.
the system in that area.
No, that's a 1968. 61 and 68 are right in there, and yeah, that was just a corrosion
Okay.
hole that they had down there. But that brings up a good point. We're dealing with some of the valves that are 1961 vintage. They don't operate as well as they used to, so that's been a little bit difficult for us.
Michael, that obviously that's a big piece of pipe. Is that serving Franklin, or what part of the city is that serving?
It was intended, in 68 when they put it in, they intended to be a large transmission run along Howell Avenue to get up to the tower. So there's actually a small piece of 30-inch down at Ryan Road as well. It was put in at the same era. It just never happened. It never came. What got filled in was 16-inch, so the north-south piece wasn't needed. It was the east-west piece ultimately that was needed for that. So yeah, it was just put in for the future. It wasn't needed.
That's why you can deal with this without taking people out of service?
Correct, yeah. Yeah, I think we can go as far back as Shepherd, as far west as maybe 500 feet west of Howell, and then south we can go down to almost Qdoba. Take that entire area and it'll be out of service and it doesn't affect anyone. That we've been very fortunate that way. Where we've not been fortunate is 1999 butterfly valves on the 24-inch east on Buttes. They don't seem to. One's broken. The other one doesn't seem to operate at all. We went a third valve east. That didn't help. We went a fourth valve east. We're at Shepherd on a 2007 valve, and it appears that we can't get that one to shut down either. It feels better, but we don't think we're reducing the water. But now we're back to probably 7 or 8 valves to shut down for this shutdown. So any one of them or several of them could be leaking. We know a couple are leaking, but a little bit ends up being a lot. So yeah, we're still working on it.
Issue with the integrity of these valves? That strikes me as odd that you can't count on any supplier to produce a valve that lasts.
Right. Anecdotally, the Desuric valve is not something we've liked historically. They are, those are the three that don't seem to function at all. Is there a reason why we didn't like them? We can't exactly find why they were used in that location, but they were. Maybe that's all they could get. I'm not really sure. But yeah, we're kind of paying the price. So we may dig up one of those valves. There's a gearbox associated with the valve. We think there's a problem in the gearbox, so we may go after that. But we first wanted to find a supplier for the parts before we dig it up, and then find parts broken, but there's no one.
You guys wouldn't be alone if there's a supplier problem.
Okay, valve repairs on, the first valve repair there on Daniel, the only reason why I bring that up is we did the satellite leak detection. That was a piece that indicated the leak. They dug up the valve and couldn't find a leak. So some you hit and some you miss. Plant operations, nothing in particular there. There's more red on Mike's report than green. Green obviously being positive. I would say if you look on the 5-year trend, though, there's definitely more green. So we're looking really good there. We're not seeing particularly any trend.
Just a quick question, Mike. How are we doing with Franklin?
We're doing really good. Glenn and I talked a little bit at the conference. Milwaukee and I talked quite a bit actually at the conference. Nothing really to report on that. There's no new discussions that are going on. Sort of, officially, we've not had a meeting with Franklin or anything like that, or requested any data.
My question for you too: how often? I don't remember where we settled on.
Well, every quarter would be the goal. Yeah. Okay. We'll get there. We'll get back there.
Good. You're the only one that hasn't seen the rest of it, so unless you got some questions.
Matt, do you have anything for engineering? No? No. No, I don't have any questions. Anyone have questions for Matt?
Oh, I think this information was pretty much already included in the monthly department reports.
No. To adjourn then.
Move.
Second,
Roll call.
Dukniak, aye.
Gale line.
Guzikowski, aye.
Seifert, aye.